with me.
Welcome to Read My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, akaRadioRed, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's akaRadioRed.
Radio Red in the house, my happy place on Mondays. Happy to be here. I have a full house, and wait till you meet them. Talk about creatives. Today is the 25th of March. Oh my goodness gracious. Where is the month going, the quarter going, the year going? It's just zooming by. We couldn't wait to get out of 2022, 2023. And here we are in 2024 is zipping. It is the 25th day. It's the 85th day of the year, actually, in the Gregorian calendar. And I don't know if you all know, but Gregorian didn't like Julian's calendar at all because they had this strange thing where he added a couple of leap days, and you won't believe it, but October 4th was next to October 15th. How did you celebrate a birthday in the middle of October? Nobody knows. So he went ahead and changed it. I hear somebody's dog, and welcome, and we need a cameo if that's a dog in the room there. We have 200, Gary, where'd you go? 286 days left. It's the 12th Monday, and I'm the only one who cares. And before I who's got a dog? Who's got a dog?
I'm going to bring my dog in.
Bring your dog in. And before we introduce our guest, I want you all to put up your fingers. I didn't know about this. Into the letter L. If you get your dog to do letter L. Okay, there we go. On the count of three, you're going to join me in just how I say it, in saying hello, L, L, L. Just like that. 1, 2, 3. Hello, L, L, L. A little draggy at the end. Jordan, my engineer, would you please mark down that they were the third best all year? Maybe the second best. I have to be fair. We're voting on this. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Legg. She lives in Whitestone, New York. She's our most loyal listener, and every Monday night at 6:01 p.m. she will email me and she'll say, I loved your show. She calls me beautiful, gorgeous radio lady of red. She'll tell me what Gary said, what Sarah said, what Denise said, what Mary said. She writes me a little report and asks me how I am, and I ask her how she is every Monday. A long line of people have done this over the years, and she's it right now. So hello to LLL. So I have a little poem to read to all of you, and I want to do a quick memorial here. Laurent de Brunhoff, the French artist who nurtured Babar. Everybody remembered the beloved French civilized elephant for nearly 7 decades, sending him to a castle, to New York, to outer space. He passed away on Friday. Laurent was living in Florida, believe it or not. He was 98. His father, Jean de Brunhoff, was the one who created Babar out of a little character for the children in the family to help them go to sleep. So an era has ended, and I just wanted you all to know that anybody who loved the Babar books, bye-bye. There we go. So I don't usually have an obit at the beginning of the show, but I couldn't help myself. Okay, everybody listen up. I'm going to read a little poem. When I call your name, just wave furiously so the audience knows who you are. They're watching. By the way, wave hello to LinkedIn, everybody. Wave hello to Facebook twice. I have 2 channels. Wave hello to YouTube and wave hello virtually to, good waves. Voice America. We're on the Empowerment Channel. Here we go. Upon the Read My Lips stage with passion so bright, akaRadioRed with her Scarlett mic and the live streaming light, that's a lot of rhymes, welcomes you, dear audience, to Read My Lips today with 4 guest creatives, where our cool conversations will play. Denise Dorman, wave hello. The BRANDMOTHER's cheer, marketing guru, her advice is crystal clear. Passion for neurodivergence, her stories unfold in the debrief, her wisdom we behold. I hope you like that, Denise. There you go. I can sell that to you if you want to use it. No, I'll let you know. Okay, Gary Morgenstein is here, writer with passion that won't abate. Wrote his first story at the cool age of 8. From high school sports to dystopian trilogy lore, Gary's pen dances on 7 plays and more. Gary, what'd you think? Like it?
I love it.
Good. I'm glad. Love it helps. There you go. I'll send it to you.
Settle on a price. Yeah.
We will. Mary Carlson is here. Movie lineage in her family's veins. Found her calling in trauma, where healing reigns. As CEO of ITR, her mission is clear, spreading instinctual trauma response far and near. Mary, I hope. Oh, she liked that. Good. Thumbs up. And Sara Rosinsky, Sara without the H. Stand-up comedy in her past, now a wordsmith with copy unsurpassed. Owner of Shiny Red Copy, crafts with delight. authored Unflubbify Your Writing to set bad grammar right. I hope you like that, Sara. Do we get a? Oh, she did. I've got my notes in front of all of you here. On the branding of creativity, I named this episode in honor of you, Ms. Denise Dorman. On the branding of creativity, our voices will soar, aka Radio Red's panel with wisdom to explore. In the live streaming realm where conversations flow, read my lips for creativity on the go. What'd you all think? Pretty cool?
Beautiful.
Okay, I have a contest for you. A quick contest here. How many people? Well, let me just go around the table. Denise, how long did it take for ChatGPT? I sent it a little opening, a little closing, and your full bio, Sara's bio, Gary's bio, Mary. I just loaded hundreds and hundreds of words into the query and said, write me an opening poem. Then I edited it. But how long do you think it took ChatGPT to send back the core poem? Denise, give me a timing. We'll go around the table.
3 seconds.
Sara, how long?
0.9 seconds.
Gary, how long?
8 seconds.
Mary?
6.
You're a very savvy panel. I have an ongoing debate with a friend named Dan Geller who runs Agency Renegades, and he's an AI guru, and he works with businesses around the world. And he said a couple months ago on LinkedIn, you don't need to be polite to ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you're using. Just tell it what you want and get it over with. Well, I grew up in New York, Gary, and Queens, and, I was born to be polite. So I say, good morning, ChatGPT. How are you? It says, well, I don't have any feelings, but what can I do for you? I thank it. I tell it it's good. No, could you please? It's a whole thing going on. Thank you. I hope you have a good day. It's my friend. So I still do the polite thing. But I was told if you stop being polite, ChatGPT will be faster. Well, I want all of you to know that it went from 3 seconds to about 2.5 seconds in delivering everything that I gave it. Then I put it into my notes, and then I take a few minutes of human time to edit, change some of the rhymes. Sometimes I'm not quite on board with the way it took your bios and crafted your little verses there, but it's a human plus AI creation, shall we say. So I just want you all to know I do write poetry with an online group, and I never use AI for that. That's a no-no. So let's go around the table. Today's show is the fault of Denise Dorman, who brought me all these wonderful people. Denise, I run into you every couple of years at the National Publicity Summit. I was just there last week and booked 37 people to fill the next 3.5 months of shows. I ran into you and you said, have I got some people for you? Well, maybe Gary would have said it that way. And you brought me Mary and Gary and Sara, and I said, Denise, you have to come on the show. Come on. This has been going on too long here. So Denise, I'm putting you on full screen speaker view. Please do us the honor of telling us what you do. Take your full 3 minutes. Everything else will be faster than 3 minutes because we have a lot to talk about. Denise, welcome. Talk to me.
Hi, I'm Denise Dorman. I own Right Brain Media, LLC, and I am a full-service advertising, marketing, public relations, and branding agency. So I help you get attention, and when you get attention, you get sales. And so ultimately, I help you with your ROI.
How did you get started, Denise? We want an origin story. Where did you
origin story? Okay.
Born into this? Go ahead. Tell me more.
Yeah, I was born into this. As soon as I could hold a pencil, I was writing press releases. No, I went to NIU, Northern Illinois University, got my degree in journalism, emphasis public relations, went into television. I was a writer-producer for a nationally syndicated series called The Superchargers. And then from there, I platformed that into working for an ad agency as a senior account executive, senior copywriter. Then from there, I went into doing my own business where I did advertising, public relations, marketing, video production, you name it. So that's kind of the fast track of my career.
Thank you very much. Very glad to have you here. And thank you for bringing these people. Let's see who they
You're
are.
welcome.
Let's go around the table. Gary Morgenstein, full screen. Everybody can see your punum. I think you know what that is.
I do
Gary,
indeed. Yes,
I know
you.
some of us do. I think most of us do. Gary, tell us your story. Go ahead.
Well, as my family tells it, when I was in first grade, my mother was called to school by the teacher, which back in those days was a bad thing. And the teacher asked my mother to watch me in the classroom through the door. In the old style New York City classrooms, they had the window with the grill. And there I am with all my pencils. And I'm telling stories with the pencils and the characters, and I'm yelling and I'm screaming and they're talking. And the teacher told my mother, I don't want to discourage his creativity, but no one's listening to me. but this was, the Bronx in the 60s, and this was not like normal behavior. I heard my parents afterwards in the living room that night talking, it's your family's fault. Maybe you should live in the country with someone. It was not normal behavior. But like any good artist, I had a dystopian, an unhappy family to deal with. And so I hid in my art. I made up stories. I made up the world where everything came out a lot better than the lunatics I was living with. And then it carried on from there. And then, so it's 7 plays, 7 novels, and I'm working on my 3rd musical. And it's wonderful. And the characters, they come to me. The door opens. I'm not going to get into religion, but someone opens the door, they walk in, and we're off to the races.
Thank you, Gary. I'll tell you that I wrote 3 romantic comedy plays about 5 years ago. No, about 8 years ago. And I started writing at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was working a full-time job, and I wrote till about 4 for 3 or 4 nights, and an entire play took shape, and the characters just talked to me. They told me, and I sent the links. I produced them for my TV show. I had a Long Island TV show, and I produced them, had to get them down to 26 minutes. Oh my God, with community actors who were very generous. It was a swap. They gave me the time. I gave them the play. It was fun. But what was interesting was I just sent the links, and I can send them to all of you if you want them. They're on my Vimeo channel. I sent the links to a friend who watched them. He said, I see you, I hear you, Red, in every line coming out of your character's mouths. And nobody had ever said that before. Very, very interesting. Let's continue around the table. Mary Carlson, so happy to meet you. Mary, please regale us with who you are and your background. Welcome, Mary.
Well, thank you. You guys are a hard act to follow. So I say I was born in the wagon of a traveling show. My whole family was in film production for several generations. And so when it came time for me to get a job, my father said, do you want to work at Burger King or do you want to work on the set? I decided there was better money on the set. So I went into that field and loved it and worked with a lot of great people and on a lot of shows for about 45 years. So I started when I was 16. And what was great was a producer and writer friend of mine called me and said, hey, we got to help these guys get this trauma method out. They're in West Virginia. No one knows about them. It's the only thing that works. And I said, trauma? I don't even know what you guys are talking about. Anyway, a lot of us don't think we have trauma until we really start writing it out. And then you realize, oh my gosh, I guess that wasn't just being a kid. I guess that wasn't just being a woman. These things are trauma. Anyway, so I listened to what they did, and they basically had people draw a storyboard with voiceover narration behind it. And I said to the psychiatrist, one of the developers, Dr. Tinnen, and his wife, Dr. Linda Gann, an art therapist, I said to them, well, this is just storyboarding with a voiceover. Why do you even need a therapist to do it? And he said, you don't. I've been looking for a way around therapists for years. So I said, cool, let's go. And of course, we work with therapists and we love therapists and they're super helpful as well. But it was just really exciting for me to be able to work with them and help people, be able to do your own trauma. So that's what we're focusing on. I'm making more movies than ever, working with these guys.
Very interesting. Good work, Mary. You're right. We don't know. I keep saying, no, there was no trauma in the past. And then sometimes you discover something that wasn't too comfortable and you say, maybe that is in that category. It's hard to acknowledge sometimes. Thank you very much. I'll tell you my therapy story later on. Off air. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on. Sara Rosinsky. Sara saying, when the heck is she going to get to me? Sara, we love you already. Sara, tell us who you are. Let's hear your story. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Sara Rosinsky. I am an advertising copywriter. My company, as you can see, is Shiny Red Copy. I have been a copywriter pretty much since I was fresh out of college, because when I graduated from college, I found myself without the job I had assumed I would be offered upon graduating. And so I did what works, which is to advertise. I made posters and I copied them and I put them all over Boston's Back Bay. And they said something like, recent Wellesley graduate and aspiring stand-up comedian seeks employment. I have a car. I live on the Green Line. Let me know how I can help you, basically. Had the little tear off phone numbers, and the odd jobs began. It wasn't too long, however, before an advertising agency in the Back Bay gave me a call. They wanted me to hand deliver some invitations that were accompanied by baseballs. They were a strange shape. That did not happen, but they kept my number. And when an opening for, they needed some help with answering the phones and typing on a typewriter at the front desk. And I jumped at the chance because I thought I might enjoy advertising. And sure enough, I did. And the rest is history. My boss taught me how to do copywriting. And I also learned about media and design while I was there. It was a small place. So
When did you open Shiny Red Copy?
Say it again.
When did you start Shiny Red Copy?
I started Shiny Red Copy shortly after my daughter was born in 1999, and I found it a little hard to have a full-time job away from the house. So that's when it began. There's been other full-time employment in between, but since 2016, I've fired up Shiny Red Copy again, and that's all I want to do.
Very nice. I was thinking, what a combination. Wellesley graduate stand-up comic with a car. Hire me. That probably attracted a red car. Probably attracted a lot of attention, I can imagine. By the way, Sarah, I'm a Sarah Lawrence girl, just so you know. We were, I went to Sadie Lou back in the day, and I actually ran into Leslie Gore. It's my party in the bookstore once. I didn't say anything, but I recognized her, and I was there years after Yoko Ono and Barbara Walters went there. But Stuart Alsop's daughter Fuff was there, and I think she used to get picked up on the weekends by a private helicopter somewhere nearby.
As we do. No, I'm kidding.
We do. Yes, I wasn't one of those, but it was quite an education. And that was when it was all girls, if I can say that. It was very, very interesting place to be. So Wellesley, Sarah Lawrence says hello. There you go. Anyway, thank you all for the bios. I feel like I'm with literati glitterati here, being among all of you. Denise is saying, yeah, these are my people and they're pretty damn good, aren't they? Yes, we knew that, Denise. Thank you. You're pretty damn good too, Denise. So let's go to the part of the show where I have asked each of you to send me a fictional quote from a movie or a TV character or a song lyric. I'm going to read a little bit about the quote and ask you to spend about 2 minutes. Let's keep it tight, please, telling us what this has to do with your creativity. So Denise Dorman has sent a quote from Hedley, Hedley. I had to read that 5 times to make sure I had the right name. Hedley Lamar with 2 R's, played by Harvey Korman. Does it get any better than that? The movie Blazing Saddles, 1974, satirical postmodernist Western black comedy film directed by who else? Mel Brooks, my goodness. And Brooks was in a couple of supporting roles. The film is full of deliberate anachronisms from the Count Basie Orchestra, as he made a cameo with his orchestra playing April in Paris in the Wild West, to Pickens' character mentioning the wild world of sports. It's in the National Film Registry in 2006. Here's the line Denise has selected. My mind is a raging torrent filled with rivulets of thought cascading into a waterfall of creative alternatives. I'm exhausted just reading it. Denise, 2 minutes. What does this mean to your creativity, please?
You know, I have ADHD. I was diagnosed late in life. And when I get into the creative flow, that encapsulates what I do. My mind is a raging torrent, idea hamster, idea factory. It just pours out of my head and into the keyboard. And that quote from that great movie represents exactly what happens when I'm in creative flow.
That's lovely. That's absolutely lovely. I hope I read it with enough emotion for that river to flow properly for you, Denise. I do good
you
cold
did well.
reads. I need to hire myself out as a cold read person, Sarah. I need to find somebody who likes good cold reads. I do all kinds of quotes on the show. Thank you, Gary Morgenstein. You have a quote from Commander Taggart, played by Tim Allen. Galaxy Quest, 1999 sci-fi comedy, a parody of an homage to sci-fi films and series, especially Star Trek and its fandom. It depicts the cast of a fictional cult TV series, Galaxy Quest, drawn into a real interstellar conflict by actual aliens, woo, who think the series is an accurate documentary. It achieved cult status with who else? Star Trek fans. And as a comedy, it was included in Reader's Digest list of the top 100 plus funniest movies of all time in 2012. That's a while ago. And Star Trek fans in 2013 voted it the 7th best Star Trek film of all time. Of course, that was 11 years ago. Here's the quote Gary has picked from Commander Taggart. Never give up, never surrender. How did I do that, Gary? Was that okay?
That was great.
Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think as a writer, you have to always keep writing. And when people ask me, what's writing about? I have a good story. I says, well, are you prepared to do a lot of hard work? And that's it. My last novel was in manuscript pages, 910 pages, and I edited it 10 times. Now, maybe I'm a little neurotic, okay? But when writing, you must be relentless about it. You must devour your young. You must be prepared to say that you're wrong, because a writer is wrong most of the time, because that's all we do. We edit constantly. And you have to put your ego aside, and you have to make sure at the end, though, that this is your vision and no one is going to talk you out of it. If this is what you believe, this is how it should be. And you want edits and you want input, and that's all very cool and sometimes helpful, sometimes not. But don't give up ever on what you believe in.
Thank you very much. Very, very interesting. I had on my TV show on Long Island, I had all kinds of creative people. And I had a woman who was a sculptor one time. And I said to her, I can't remember her name. I said to her, how do you know when you're done? How do you know when your piece is done? And then many years later, I started painting. I have about 300 paintings here in my home. They're on the walls, they're on the floors, they're in bags, they're all over the place in the garage. And I experienced that. How do I know when I'm done? You just know, right, Gary? The piece says to you, that's it. Go ahead.
No, but you think you're done. It's different because I write novels and plays, and with plays, it's so organic. Because a novel, it's your name on the cover. So good or bad, you can blame no one else but yourself. But a play, you give it up to other people who have different insights and different perspectives, and they imbue the character differently. And sometimes you'll see different productions of the same character in the same play, and it's different. And I'm always editing. Even on the last productions of my play Black and White Cookie, I said, you know what? That scene, that's not good. And one of the actors did something spontaneous. He came up with something. I said, that's great. I'm going to use it. Again, not having an ego as long as it's good.
Very good point. And one of my plays I produced when I was in Durham, North Carolina, with people in the community who were not actors. I had to train them. I had to coach them on how to do voices and how to imbue the characters. And I ended up changing a lot of lines because some of them, they couldn't say it or they couldn't express it. And I had what I had. I mean, people showed up and said, I want to be in your play. I didn't get to audition them. It was, it was pickings. That was it, whoever was there. So I understand. But with art, and sometimes I'll go back to a painting I did 3 or 4 years ago and I say, I think I want to add something to that. So it does talk to me later on. Thank you, Gary. Let's go to Mary Carlson. Mary picked a line from a very, very famous song, a power ballad from 1973 by Aerosmith. And before I say anything else, everybody says, I know what that is. Steven Tyler, it was their first major hit. Steven Tyler, at the age of 3, had a father who was a Juilliard-trained musician. And Steven Tyler used to lie under his dad's piano listening to him play music. And he got the chordage for the song that he wrote down when he was 14 years old. And the song builds to a climax. And the song, of course, is Dream On. Mary, when I started playing drums about 8 years ago, the first song I was assigned by the School of Rock was Dream On. Near and dear to me. I had to learn everything, including being in an adult student band 6 weeks after I started drum lessons in a concert on stage with a couple hundred people in the audience who came to see their kids. There were 17 bands of different ages. It was terrifying and thrilling at the same time, but I will never forget Dream On. Here's the beautiful line Mary has picked from Dream On. Dream until your dreams come true. Mary, take a couple minutes. Tell us how this relates to you, please.
I feel like it's a life motto. And one of my dreams is to really be in the healing field, which I am now, of course, in the trauma field. But it was also the dream of like bringing film and healing together in one. And so now the dream to heal millions of people around the world, we're still holding on to and looking to crack the code of helping people heal themselves and getting the word out and how to do that the best way. But I just want to say I'm so happy to be with this team of people, and you guys are all doing that, and it's very inspiring. So I'm very proud to be here with everybody, and great to know you and hear your stories.
Well, we're glad to have you here too. Thank you very much. That's very kind. You are a valued member of this team, shall we say, for the evening. Here we go. Let's go to Sara Rosinsky. Sara has picked a quote from a song from 1944 written by Harold Arlen, lyrics by Johnny Mercer. Everybody, I don't know if anybody is old enough. Sara, you probably aren't even old enough to remember this song, but I'm pretty sure Mary and Gary do. Denise, I'm not too sure of. The song is Accentuate the Positive. It was nominated for Best Original Song at the 18th Oscars in 1945 because it was in the film Here Come the Waves. Johnny Mercer told the Pop Chronicles radio documentary, My Publicity Agent, wasn't you, Denise, you weren't born then, went to hear Father Divine, and he had a sermon, and his subject was, you've got to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. And I said, wow, that's a colorful phase. Mercer recorded it with the Pied Pipers and Paul Weston's orchestra in 1944, October 4th. It was released by Capitol Records, catalog number 180, if anybody wants to look it up. It was on the Billboard charts for 13 weeks. It was number 2 on the Harlem Hit Parade, number 4 on Billboard's annual high school survey in 1945, number 5. Here's the deal. Within weeks of a release of the song, everybody wanted to record their own version. Sara, just bear with me here for a second. Bing Crosby and the Andrews Sisters recorded it in October. It was on Decca Records, number 2 on the Billboard charts. It lasted 9 weeks. Dinah Washington and Lionel Hampton did it on a live broadcast in March of the following year. Artie Shaw, his version peaked at number 5 on Billboard, 5 weeks on the chart. Connie Francis, I don't know if anybody remember them. She was a Long Island lady. Lipstick on My Collar. She added it to her swinging medley, gospel medley in 1960. Perry Como recorded it twice for albums. Aretha Franklin recorded it in 1962, the electrifying Aretha Franklin for Columbia, and Sam Cooke, You Send Me, recorded it for his encore album in 1958. So here's the line. I read most of it already. You've got to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch onto the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. Oh, Sara, what a great line. How did you even know about this song? What are you, 20? Go ahead, Sara.
Sam Sepkowitz, my father, he sang it all the time. He sang a lot of those songs from the 40s, but that one, I think, got into my bloodstream. I tend to do that. It can be a fault, to not notice terrible things and to focus on the good ones, but it's my disposition to find the positive. Anyway, so in terms of creativity, I would say it certainly helps with writing advertising, right? to find the positive and highlight that. But it makes me happy.
I'm glad it makes you happy. Do you watch a lot of ads on TV, Sara, and say, I could have written that better, that ad copy? Do you have that reaction to what's going on right now with ads? Tell me true.
Everything I see, I think, how could it be better? And sometimes it couldn't be better, but usually it could be. Yeah. It's
interesting.
It's a compulsion.
There was an ad for something I saw the other day, and the actress who was singing, it was a rap style. I can't remember the product. Reminded me of Lizzo, and I looked up to see if it was Lizzo in this video, and I couldn't find the name. Somebody, a woman, had the same question, and she went searching through everything everywhere to find the name of the actress, and finally found the person, and she made a video of her search for the actress in the ad. And then right under that, I found on YouTube the actress released her own video. They plucked her out of nowhere because she wrote a review of a product and said she liked it. They found her, they approached her, they trained her, they flew her to London from Atlanta, Georgia. They gave her about 20 costume changes, put her in these gorgeous settings. She acted, she sang. I don't even remember the ad. I have to find it, but her name was B. Sims, Simms. If you look her up, you'll find it. And it was amazing, but she did it in a rap style with different poses, lying on her back and on her side and on top of, I think it was on a motorcycle and in a house. And it was just quite an ad. And it was so catchy. I wanted to know who the person was. She does remind everybody of Lizzo, which is interesting. So I'll try to find it for you after the show, Sarah. Thank you all for the quotes. I appreciate the work you all did. And it's just a lot of fun. By the way, I use the quote, shall we call the icebreaker, even on my technology shows and even on my business shows with high-end tech analysts. And they say, what, I have to give you a quote from a movie or a TV show? Are you out of your mind? I say, no, that's the way it is. You want to be on the show, you give me a quote. So anyway, there you go. So now it's time for me to pick one creativity statement from each of you. Each generously sent me 4. I'm going to pick one and read it. I'd like you to unpack it. Denise, you'll be first. And if anybody wants to make a comment like, I like that, or I agree, or here's how it applies to me, just wiggle one of your nice fingers. Let me see if I can do something here. We have some special features here. There we go. I've got some confetti for all of you. Okay. And then if I do this, I think if I get something, I get yes, I'm going to get some fireworks for all of you. Yes. This is a new feature of OS Sonoma on Mac, and it works on Zoom. It works on Facebook. It works on FaceTime. It works everywhere. Okay, here we go. So Denise Dorman, you've talked about some of your statements already. I'm picking number 1. I'm going to read it for you. You say, creativity means conjuring ideas with my unique fingerprint on them. Denise, why don't you unpack that for a couple minutes and we'll see if anybody has a comment. Go ahead, Denise.
Oh, sure. So I conjured an idea just in the last week. I wrote a little essay for my Substack, which is called My Secret ADHD Life. And I talk about the flags, the warning flags on the beaches of Florida. They have these warning flags to tell you whether or not you are allowed to swim. And me being from the Midwest, I had never seen these before, so I had no idea. I thought they were just decorative, fun flags. I had no idea. And so I decided to put my little fingerprint on the idea. And I said, for Gen Zers, they need a big flag, like a big yellow flag that says GTFO, get the F out. That's how you get them out of the water if there's a riptide. And then for everybody else, I said, like a skull and crossbones. That makes perfect sense to me. Like, I would think that there was danger afoot if I saw a skull and crossbones flag. But when I see a yellow flag or a red flag or 2 red flags, it means nothing to me. So that's my solution. And that's my fingerprint on creativity for Florida beaches.
Bold. Anybody have a comment on that? Gary, I thought you'd want something to say. Mary, go ahead. Mary, please join us.
That makes total sense to me, Denise. I love that idea.
Well, you need somebody bold to take an idea like that and say, we're going to get a little scary here and throw out the PC. There we go. Thank you very much. I know it's getting less and less difficult to do that. Gary Morgenstein, you wrote some dark statements here, my friend. I picked number 2. This is interesting. Okay. Everybody, I hope your seatbelts are on. Gary says he writes about ordinary, flawed, and often broken people. He said, ain't always pretty, but as we say in the Bronx, tough noogies, sometimes you'll offend people. Oh no, Gary, you offended somebody. As long as you're not doing it to shock a reader or audience with gratuitous sex, violence, or language, and are depicting how characters whom you're eavesdropping on, that's good. Gary, let's have a little honesty here. Go ahead.
Well, that's the whole point. If you're going to write, you have to be honest. And we know in our woke and cancel culture society, I don't know how people do comedy anymore. And many comedians don't know how people do comedy anymore. I mean, the whole essence of comedy is making fun of someone, and it's to get a laugh. And as artists, we're the other, okay? And it's been for thousands of years. You go back to the ancient Greeks and probably long before that. We hold up a mirror to society and we say, this is wrong and you should do something about it. But you have to do more than just hold up the mirror and flash bumper sticker quotes. And you got to get beyond ideology, and you have to look at human beings who I think are the most underrepresented voting bloc in America, because we all have more in common. There's more that unites us than divides us. And I think as a writer and as artists, we have an obligation. It's really easy to point fingers and yell and scream and say, we just turn on the news, right? Or just go to a family dinner and have people lose their minds, right? Okay. But you have to show a way forward. You have to show a light. You can't just leave people with saying, well, this side stinks or that stinks. You have to give hope. And I think even though I write sometimes dark plays and certainly dark novels, which are set after America's lost World War III, but at the end of the day, there's hope, and it's the human spirit. And we have to remember to fall back on that. There's a reason why we're all still around. Mystifying to many of us, but the human race is wonderful. I mean, I'll just leave it with this. The things that people endure during World War II in London, when the Luftwaffe was bombing the hell out of them, and the government decided they were going to close the theaters. Well, that set off quite an outrage among the British. How dare you take away our theater? So they had the theaters go back on, and they had performances. And people would, when there was an air raid coming up, someone would either make an announcement or they'd hold up, some signal from the stage in terms of lights, and to tell people to go into the air raid shelter. And people said, no, carry on. And the birth rate, by the way, went up in London during the bombing. So take
Sure.
that. Right? But that's
Take
what
that,
people do.
right.
We find a way to survive. And I think as artists, you take people on a journey and you show it, but you have to show something beyond that. It's important. That's what I believe.
Very well put. And your comment, we won't go into it, but how do comedians do their comedy anymore? I was a stand-up, and for a while, Sarah, I did in downtown New York. I had my own troupe, and I used to perform with my troupe in Borders bookstores. And Gary, to your point, we got thrown out of one Borders. The manager blackballed us because, well, I remember I was on the verge of being diagnosed with walking pneumonia. I was very sick. I was in the ladies' room just coughing my lungs out. But I brought in 10 comedians, and we were terrible because hundreds of people came, and they basically overtook the cafe in the Borders, and they weren't buying coffee in Danish that night. They were listening to this free comedy show, and they loved it. We were packing hundreds of people into Borders, even on a Memorial Day. But one woman showed up with her 7-year-old son. Now, this was not branded as adult comedy. This was not dirty. This was not gutter stuff. But one of my comedians used the V word, and it was virgin, as in Virgin Mary, or a virgin. Well, the mother was so offended, she went to the manager and reported us. And we were blackballed up the chain at the bookstore. And when I was trying to book us at a farther out on Long Island bookstore of the same chain, I was told they had to review all of our comedy notes before the show to make sure we weren't going to offend. Sarah is dying here. Sarah, I know I can't even remember what year it was, but it was probably about 20 years ago. And it was absolutely shocking. We also did public libraries and on Sunday afternoons, and we had a lot of fun. So yeah, but I couldn't control these people, and I didn't hire people. I didn't hire them at all. We're just along for the ride. But funny, but Borders paid us in gift certificates and in some cash. And my partner and I, her name was, I can't remember her name, Sheila, little tiny, I'm 5'1", she was about 4'11". They paid us in cash, and then we gave gift certificates to our comedians, and they had a ball. They went around the store. They used the gift certificates for buying albums and CDs and magazines and books. They were in heaven because they weren't getting paid by anybody. So everybody was a win. But that's what happened with the V word in my tour. My tour of the B stores. Let's leave that one on the floor there. Cutting room. Thank you. Mary, let's go to your statement number 2. This is very interesting. You say, I push myself to make creativity happen. Being a disruptor rebel is in my blood. So pushing to make things happen against all odds feels normal, like the right thing to do. I work with creative people, so I know what it looks like. I'm more the one who connects them and tries to inspire and encourage them. They encourage me to keep going and get the word out to help others who are suffering. And I'm assuming this relates to your trauma work. Mary, take a couple minutes and unpack this for us, please.
Well, I'm working with some wonderful, wonderful creatives, and I feel so blessed. An editor, Mark Voss, who's fantastic. And he's taken a lot of the work, as you guys know, with editors, they're the magic makers. So as filmmakers, we deliver what we can barely get, if we're lucky, off the set. And then an editor takes it and turns it into beauty. And so that's what he's been doing. And as a disruptor, Dr. Linda Gant, one of the creators of the method, was very much into that, because we all know the mental health field is really hurting right now. I mean, people are, not getting what they need, and the therapists all have compassion fatigue, and it's a big nightmare, turning into a big pharma, extravaganza, and everyone thinks they have to take a pill for every ill. So it is being a disruptor to show people that there's a way to treat your trauma and heal it with storytelling, basically. Draw stories of when you were brave and put a past tense voiceover narration behind it, read it, watch it, and voila. Now we call it the prefrontal cortex, the only thing separating us from the fuzzy mammals in the world, can now say that was then, this is now the end. And so triggers are put to rest. I mean, it's a phenomenal method, and it's definitely a disruptor. But Dr. Gant and Dr. Tinnen both were very much into disrupting the field and recognizing that trauma can be healed, and it doesn't take long to do it. So it's been fun. I've worked with a lot of creatives that are pretty crazy disruptors, and they're fun. It's fun pushing against the status quo, and it's scary sometimes, but it's worth it, because it's going to help a lot of people that feel like they're the ones broken beyond repair instead of the system. So that's what we're out here doing on helpfortrauma.com. Find out more on the website.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Very, very interesting. I'm going to move on. Sara, I'm combining two of your statements because they were so interesting to me. You say, for me, this is Sara talking, the process of creating is generally more important than the creation. Every week, this is Sara, I design a neato, I love the way you put that, neato-looking advertisement for the social groups I host on Fridays. These ads are all one-offs. They go straight in the trash after I've uploaded them to social media. I have a blast making them. I improved my Adobe Illustrator. You still using Illustrator? I lost my membership a long time ago. In the process, the end product is almost beside the point. And then you say, actually creating something requires getting a thing out of my head and into the world. I can envision hilarious Saturday Night Live sketches, elaborate backstories for complete strangers. That's just mind play. I loved all of this, Sara. So go ahead, take your full 3 minutes, because there's a lot to unpack here. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm trying to think how to elaborate. It's just all true.
Tell us some of the sketches you imagine for SNL, or what do you create?
God.
What's your group?
This happen to you? Don't you find yourself in
situations? What Friday groups do you host, and what kind of ads do you add? That's what we want to know. Talk about that.
I can talk about that.
Yeah.
This Friday will be a group that I began at the beginning of the pandemic called the Cafe Clatch. And we just get together on Zoom. There is no agenda. We just talk. And I've made friends around the world. And I can't tell you how lovely it is. So when I make my ads to invite other people and to remind the regular members, there's no risk. It's not going to really matter. It's just an opportunity to try, new skills. And I made one last night. Anyway, just so fun. And what was your next question?
Well, I want to know an example of what would be an ad that you invite people that it's not risky. Give me an idea. What do you say?
I just have to say, in fairness to my other group, I also host something called the Copy Romp, and that happens on alternating Fridays, and it's the same thing, and that's for copywriters. So I have to give props to both of those groups.
Naturally.
And then an ad is simply, it's an invitation. It just has the name of the event and the time and the date, and it's just got a design on it. It's just, Denise knows it, like she sees it. I think you gave me a thumbs up.
Yeah, beautiful typography, really inventive, really cool. I look forward to every single one.
Oh, thank you. Anyway,
I want to get on your list. So what is it about getting out of your head and the creating is more important to you than the creation? I like that, the process rather than the end.
Well, I think that when you mentioned having hundreds of paintings in your house, the accumulation of the paintings does not bring me joy when I make things. personally. Like, they mock me. I'm like, well, why, I that's why I like digital work. It doesn't collect dust. I don't know. But it's the doing of the thing that I just find so gratifying. So
Gary's dog is very
wow.
excited by that. Sara, give us an example of a sketch you might have designed for SNL, and do you ever pitch it to them?
No, I haven't, but I was in a troupe with David Cross. I don't know if you are familiar with him. He had a group called Cross Comedy back in the 90s, and I got to be in that. And so they put on a few of the things I wrote there. But yeah, usually it's just fantasy. No, I haven't sent anything in. I haven't written anything out. I just envision it and maybe share it with somebody.
I think they need your help.
Oh.
Some seasons they need help. I think Denise knows. I think this is one of their seasons. I love the opening, and I go to the wait for it on replay, and I'll go to the weekend update, and in between, I'm not too impressed. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I don't. By the way, I studied improv with Michael Gelman from Chicago Second City, who was teaching in Manhattan years ago. And we had a blast. And it might have been Judy Carter. It was somebody else who was doing improv. And it was Saturdays and Monday nights. I used to schlep into the city and go to these groups and learned a lot. And on one of my other radio shows, I mentioned improv. And one of my guests, who's also a radio host, came to me afterwards and she said, "Can you point me in the direction of an improv class or an improv group? I think it'll help me as a radio host." And I said, well, just being able to know an improv, you don't say, "Oh, it's my turn." You say, when does the room or the content or the dialogue need me? Not, "Oh, I didn't go yet." You don't do that in improv. You contribute. There's a sense that you can add something of value at a moment where it's right, not that it's your turn. And she said to me, "Can you point me in the direction?" I said, "I haven't done this in years," but I gave her the names of some groups online that she might want. And I was so flattered because she said, I like what you do. I like the way you're able to chime in on your show without obviously not reading a script and just work with people." And I thought that was really nice. She was taking it at the value of improv helps you talk to people. And my philosophy, just so you know, and Sara, you probably agree with this, is that everything we do is an improv. I'm sorry, your life is an improv. I'm not reading a manual or a handbook. I don't know, how do I feel what I want for breakfast? Well, unless you're on a specific diet or a program. But the point is everything we do. That's why I have this show about creativity. We're all improving it. Gary, we have to know who the dog's name is. What's the name of the darn dog already? Gary?
I took it back. Sorry. His name is Tiger. Sorry.
Okay. No sorry needed. You
Sorry.
always have to do a cameo if you bring something in. If it has 2 legs, 3 legs, or 4 or 6, I can meet it. If it slithers or has more than 6 legs, I'll pass out.
No,
and
doesn't
Sara's
slithers. He's gone. He's
Denise
in the
is
other
going to
room now.
run the show for me if I pass out. So if it's, I don't do too well with
No, I
that.
don't blame.
Okay, so thank you all for the discussion about creativity. I have some interesting factoids I'd like to share with all of you, and they may be, I still hear that dog. He is a tiger. March 25th, I have some famous events in music history. And if these mean anything to you, just say something. Gary, I tell you what, why don't you mute your line for a second there?
Yes.
So we don't get Tiger interrupted, because this is very important stuff I'm about to read now. It's really, really important. And Sara and everybody's looking at me like, seriously, Red? Okay, so today in 1957, Elvis Presley bought the Graceland Mansion in Memphis. Anybody want to take a guess what he paid for it in 1957 dollars? Anybody? That's a lot of money in those days. Mary, any guess? Denise, go ahead. Denise,
350.
go ahead, Denise.
I was going to say 50,000.
All right, you're both wrong. $102,500. In 1957, he bought Graceland. On this day, 3 years later, in 1960, Roy Orbison recorded "Only the Lonely." On this day in 64, Johnny Cash recorded "Ring of Fire." On this day in 67, the Turtles hit #1 with "Happy Together, How is the Weather?" I try not to sing. I need a drink here. Hold on. On this day, in 1968, the last episode of the Monkees TV show aired on NBC. It was a sci-fi episode directed by Mickey Dolenz. What's interesting is it opened with the band waking up to Good Morning, Good Morning" by the Beatles. It was one of the first times a Beatles song was used in a non-Beatles production. I thought that was interesting. On this day the next year, March 25th, 69, Judy Garland played her final concert in Copenhagen. She passed away 3 months later. Interesting. On this day in 72, America's single, A Horse with No Name, everybody remember that? Was #1 on the Hot 100. The album debuted on the albums. It was one of the most successful acts of the 70s, and they sang Sister Golden Hair, Ventura Highway, and Tin Man. Interesting, Denise is nodding. On this day in 85, Prince won the Oscar for Best Original Score for the film Purple Rain. Interesting. On this day in 61, I got my dates mixed up here, Michael Jackson escorted Madonna to the Academy Awards. How about that? Sooner or later, I Always Get My Man, which she sang for the movie Dick Tracy, won for Best Original Song. But 9 years later, the Raspberries, those are the Raspberry Awards, the Razzies, gave Madonna 3 prizes for the Worst Actress and 1 for Worst Supporting Actress and 1 for the Worst Song. What can I tell you? On this day in 2007, Elton John set the record for the most performances at New York's Madison Square Garden. He performed for the 60th time on his 60th birthday. On this day in 2015, Mariah Carey joined James Corden for, guess what, the first installment of Carpool Karaoke. I don't know why I'm so dry. Hold on a second here. In 2016, the Rolling Stones played their first gig in Cuba. Free. 1.2 million fans went to Havana's Ciudad Deportiva. The Stones spent $7 million to pay for the trip, and it followed President Obama's historic visit to Cuba. And on this day in 2020, it was the 15,561st day since Elvis Presley died. The exact number of days he lived. At that point, he became dead longer than he was alive. I don't know who collects this stuff. But anyway, Elton John, happy birthday. He's 77 today. Sarah Jessica Parker, SJP, is 54. We all know her from Sex and the City and a lot of others. Lee Pace, who starred in a TV show called Halt and Catch Fire about the origination of the first personal computer. I adored that show from 2014.
We worked on that.
Did you? Oh, I love it. And somebody in one of my other shows quoted the character Joe McMillan the other day. I don't know how it ended up. He has a birthday today. He's 45. He wears a beard. I like him better without it. He was also in Guardians of the Galaxy. Danica Patrick, everybody remember the race driver, professional driver? She's 42. She won the Indianapolis 500 in 2000, the Indy Car Series Rookie of the Year. She was the first female driver to win an Indy Car Series after coming in first at Indy 300 in Japan in 2008. And she competed in a car sponsored by GoDaddy.com, and then she started doing their ads. We've all seen her. Catherine McPhee, beautiful singer and actress, married to David Foster. I think it's her second or third husband. Singer and actress, runner-up season 5 of American Idol. She starred in the TV series Smash and in Scorpion. I loved her in both. I'm almost out of time. Aretha Franklin was born today in 2018. She passed away, the Queen of Soul, at the age of 76. Couple things. YouTube, Gonzak, Gonzok, is 28 today. Happy birthday. Why? Because he has 9 million subscribers and 1.9 billion views. He's a Mexican YouTube star. Denise, I want you to represent him. He posts lifestyle and comedic videos, usually about food reviews. What can I tell you? On TikTok, Archie Ted is 22. He only has 2.3 million followers. Comedy, dance, lip sync, and his videos are in public places. And he only has 184 million likes. And the video of his girlfriend he did only has 2.1 million. And Insta, Aspect Zavi is his name. He's 26. He only, poor guy, only 1 million followers. He's a singer, a rapper, and a dancer. And his original was called Zwinkle. What can I tell you? And he's sure that he transitioned from a dancer to rapper. Today is International Waffle Day, National Lobster Newburgh Day, if anybody remembers that. It's Maryland Day. It's National Tolkien Reading Day. And I have one more minute, and I'll tell you very quickly. The state of Maryland decided that I was wanted because my car had ran a toll booth without an easy pass for $1.46. Well, a human being took the picture of the offending license plate and transposed the 2 letters of the part of the alphabet on the beginning of the license plate and sent me a demand letter. I called them up, and I had to dispute it and wait a week for them to send me a "you are not liable." So Maryland went after me for $1.46, but I'm innocent. I promise, Judge, I'm innocent. In 2014, I had top 10 tips for Barbie at the end of my shows, Denise, and the top tip was aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. I've got 1 minute left, according 30 seconds. Here we go. Okay. Life is short. Break the rules. Tiger, remember that. Forgive quickly. Kiss slowly. Definitely. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably. Everybody laugh with me on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Don't hurt yourself, and never regret anything that made you smile. Work like you don't need the money because nobody really cares except you. Dance like no one's watching. When I taught disco, they watched. Sing like nobody's listening. I try not to sing. Love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Get over it. Love again. Money talks, chocolate sings, la. And last but not least, I stole this line from another host 30 years ago. Thank you for turning me on. Radio Red. Don't go away, guests. We want to talk afterwards. Say goodbye to LinkedIn. Bye, LinkedIn. Bye to my
LinkedIn.
engineer, Jordan.
Bye,
Bye.
LinkedIn.
Bye, Facebook. Bye, Voice America. Jordan, are we out?
All clear. Great show.
Thank you.